Hey guys, just stepping in here real quick. We're working on some technical difficulties and trying to get the calls going. So just giving you a heads up, and we'll be with you shortly. So please stick around. Hey guys, if you're just joining us over on YouTube, we are working on some technical difficulties with Skype, and we'll be with you guys shortly. Nice to see everybody there tonight. Hi Becky, hi Catherine, hi Jackie. How you doing tonight? We're having some problems with Skype tonight, and our caller coming in. Steve is having some difficulties, so we are working on it right now. Wish I had some games for you guys to play and chat, but talk amongst yourselves, and we'll be with you guys shortly, okay?
Dog barking in the background. Hello. Welcome, you guys. Welcome to the Macro Photography Chat Live Show. And yes, Steve and I have been having real fun just putting that knife right into AD because we haven't gotten Skype going. Welcome, Steve.
Thank
Welcome,
you very
Steve's
much.
in the house. So let's just tell you guys, Steve was having problems with Skype, and then I was having problems with Skype, and AD's like going crazy. So, anyways, welcome, welcome, welcome. And Steve, I just want to let you know that Becky's here. Jackie Kramer's here. Hey, Jackie. She was on here. She's amazing. Flower photographer.
I know.
Catherine's here. Oh my gosh. There's, and then I have, let's see, over here. Debbie's here. Debbie Stevenson. So thank you so much, you guys. And another thing too is I know that you guys have replayers, or we have replayers. So welcome. And we are going to dive in. Is it this way? This way to Steve. So Steve Gettle is an amazing photographer, and oh my gosh, he has done. So Jackie's out there. Jackie, Steve's just like you. He is on it. He's given me all his images. Wait till you see the work that he does. Steve, you've got some amazing exhibitions, awards. You guys have got to check out his about page. I will show you Steve's website so you guys could dive in, and towards the end I'm going to share with you some of his amazing workshops and stuff like that. So Steve, before we dive into you, let's just go ahead and do the real quick promo. AD.
Absolutely.
The Macro Chat Live Show is brought to you by SJP's membership program, a membership program for macro and landscape photographers. The membership program will work on your journey. We have monthly challenges, live calls, bonuses, and live workshops for you to attend. To see more details, head on to membership.sullivanjphotography.com. Check out our 14-day free trial.
Okay, so Steve, we are going to dive into your story, but I do want to tell you real quick that when I was looking at your website and all the fun stuff that you do, I have to say that I don't know if Nicole's watching. I just think it's so cool that you and her go out and do the things that you guys do together, because I have been trying to get the hubby to join in with me, and the only thing he does is the drone, but the photography and the stuff, he's just my Sherpa from now on, and I'm trying to get him to be like Nicole. It's just not happening.
Yeah, no, I won the lottery there. Yeah, it's a match made in heaven. We both enjoy the same thing, and it's really a blessing to be able to share it with somebody like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw some great pictures. You guys are going to have to see. Definitely, AD has put down Steve's website down below, so if you're interested to see his website. But let's go ahead and just get into your journey. I'm curious on how you started with your photography, and then what led you to the beautiful images that we're going to share in a little bit.
Sure. Well, I've actually been making pictures for over 30 years now. It's kind of scary to say. And I started off in the days of slide film. So I shot slides for, I don't know, 15, 20 years almost probably. And, that's how I started. And I started off just trying to share what I saw out in the wilderness with people and wanting to share that with people. And, if you think about it, that's still what I'm doing today, is sharing what I see as I travel around the world with people, which is really awesome. So I shoot digital pretty much like I shot slides. I tried, when you shot slides, you got what you got. And that's kind of what I try to do now. I try to shoot everything like I'm shooting film. I try to get it right in the camera. I don't do a lot of cropping. I don't do a lot of Photoshop stuff. I do post-processing, of course, but, nothing too crazy. So, and I love it. I photograph everything in nature. I do birds, I do mammals, I do landscapes. Of course, I do macro, and I love macro photography. One of the things that I really love about macro photography is its accessibility. I do a lot of really crazy, different kind of macro stuff, but at its very core, macro is super accessible to photographers. It doesn't take a ton of equipment. You don't have to have a $10,000 lens and travel all over the world. You can get a macro lens, a camera, and a tripod, and work in 5 acres near your home and be a world-class macro photographer. So that's really exciting and really cool for people.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're going to talk about too is some of the so what Steve has given us is some behind the scenes of his equipment, but then we all have the equipment segment too, where you could dive in a little bit more. But I'm excited to share. AD, do I have to do another screen share? Because with all this craziness, I don't know if I did. Okay, so let me do a screen share. We'll see what happens, guys, because it is live.
Technology is fun.
So he's got to move things
that
around.
Looks beautiful. It looks good on my end.
I don't know if ED's got it going. Let me see. let's see. Oh, I'm looking while AD's. You let me know, AD, if you guys can see the beautiful website that Steve has. I'm looking over here on the sides while he's working out his stuff. Oh, it is showing. Okay, wonderful. Okay, we're excited. He had to fix my feed. Okay, I was looking at some questions if anybody had some questions, but we're going ahead and looking at this. And so this right here is his website, and I did want to share that with you guys. You got to check it out, but we're going to dive in right now into some of his macro photography, and this is where I really would like to see your process, your thought process, what you're thinking while you're photographing. You say you don't do a lot of post processing, so let's just go ahead and dive into some of these images, and let me know what how you went about this. This is absolutely gorgeous with the frost all around the flowers. I just love it.
Yeah, that's one of the wonderful things about living in Michigan is we do have the four seasons, and it can be really beautiful and get you out and you do get different looks at things throughout the year, which is really fun. So
yeah. Now this one's really close. So this is getting into like what is it, like 5 times or something? This is pretty close.
That's probably about 3x or 4x. Yeah, and that's actually the wing scales of a monarch butterfly, and so that was with traditional photography, 200 macro with diopters and extension tubes and a teleconverter, and I actually used flash. And one of the things I really like about this image is the flash is coming from the upper right-hand corner of the image, and what happens is that light skims across those wing scales and casts a little shadow under each one, and helps that wing scale to stand off, gives it some depth, right? So
yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Yeah, beautiful. Now this is the monarch, right?
That's the monarch. Yep. Yep. And this is my absolute favorite kind of macro photography to do. I like to get out early in the mornings. Again, living here in Michigan, we, in early spring and later on in the summer, we get really dewy mornings, and you go out and it's just a magical, all these meadows, everything's all covered with dew. It's just a magical time. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is beautiful. I mean, to really see, and I think that's what's so cool about macro. We can just absorb this beauty moment in time, but what our eyes really don't see. I think that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. And then you get into reality, which I like a lot. It's so funny because a lot of girls don't like this kind of stuff. I love bugs and spiders, and I can put them on me. I love snakes. Oh my God, you have the most beautiful snake. And I don't know if you have it in here, but oh my gosh, it's so cool. Now is this indoors or is this outdoors when you're shooting this?
This is actually outdoors, and I used macro flash. I used the Nikon R1C1, which is a dual flash that goes on the front of your macro lens. And what I like about that is it becomes point and shoot, right? Because you're shooting with the flash, you're shooting 1,000th of a second becomes the flash duration. So that becomes your shutter speed. So you can just hand hold and you can shoot at f/16 and get things like this, which is really exciting and fun and liberating. Because I'm the normal type of macro photography I do, I'm tied to a tripod 95% of the time.
Yeah, so this is just like stepping out of your, just doing something different, which is great. That I love doing that too, pushing out of your comfort zone or just doing something different that you normally do. This is absolutely gorgeous too. This is beautiful. Was this indoors or outdoors or?
This is outdoors, and this is dewdrops on a spider web, and so you see the flower in each of the dewdrops. That flower is actually behind the dewdrops, and each one of those drops acts like a lens and focuses that in.
Yeah.
But people are surprised that this is actually a 15-second exposure.
Oh, it is.
Yep.
Wow, and it stayed
for 15 seconds. Yep.
Wow, that's good. That's really good that it didn't drop. Oh, I have to show this. I just love this. See, people are like, "Wow, how did you get this? How did you do this?"
Again,
is this the long lens, like a long lens?
No, it's a 105 macro, and that's a vampire bat actually.
Yeah, it looks like a
So, but again,
vampire.
flash. So I used flash to light that. So I was able to freeze the action because obviously he's not going to sit still too long for that.
Yeah.
That's the real challenge with depth of field, right? That's one of the big challenges with macro photography is it's God's cruel joke that when we get closer, we lose depth of field, right? So this is shot at f/16, and to get everything sharp from his ears out to his nose, you're really asking a lot from all that depth of field. So what you want to do is people don't realize it, but you need to focus a third of the way into the image, okay? Because wherever you focus, when you look through your lens, you're looking through the lens wide open, and that's where you focus. So where you want to focus, a third of the way in, because a third of the depth of field is in front of where you focus, and 2/3 is behind. So if you focused on the nose, the closest thing to the camera, you'd be wasting a third of your depth of field, right? So you want to focus. I focus probably right about the beginning of his eyes. And then when the camera takes the pictures, it stops down to f/16 and we get everything sharp.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially when you need to take the one shot. You're not stacking and you got to do it quickly. So thank you for sharing that with everyone. This one's really cool too. The ants, where you get to, it's just incredible how strong they are, and you can really feel it in this. And so I have a question with you. When you're shooting and you see something like this, do you just like, oh my gosh, this is a moment? Or you just sit there and chill for a while and wait till the moment happens? I'm kind of curious because a lot of your stuff is, outdoors and, grabbing that moment. So what do you do when you actually are planning for your composition?
Well, this was actually the first time I had ever seen leafcutter ants, and they're just streaming by the thousands.
Exactly. They're fast, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're moving pretty fast. So I used flash to freeze the action here again. But being the first time I'd ever seen them, I watched them and figured out their habits and what they're doing. And then I actually set up like a little studio out in the jungle, and I was sitting there hand holding again because I was using flash. So my flash is 1,000th of a second, so that freezes all the action. So I had 2 flashes on the front of the camera, and then I actually put a leaf behind where they were walking and put a 3rd flash on that. So that way, because if not, the background would go black.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So we use a 3rd flash to light that leaf in the background, and then as they were walking by, I just kept photographing until I got, some interesting scenes.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so that's good because, a lot of macro photographers realize that when you get up close like that, the light drops fast. It's like,
Right.
Bam, it's gone. So what a great tip also is to light up your background with another light source. That's perfect. This one's a beauty. I love this one. This is so pretty. Oh my gosh. That's a spider web, isn't it? On the flower?
Spider webs on the clover, yep. And a little cloudless sulfur. Another beautiful dewy morning here in Michigan.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I don't think we have anything over here in Southern California like that. So I'm just like sucking this all in. It's just beautiful. Really, really pretty. Did you go somewhere special to grab these babies?
They're so in Costa Rica. And those are, they call them blue jean frogs because they're wearing little blue jeans or strawberry poison dart frogs. And they're about the size of your thumbnail.
Oh my gosh, really? They're that small?
Yeah, they're just little teeny guys.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that's great. And they're poisonous, so you have to be careful?
Yeah, you can handle them a little bit. I don't recommend it, but if you come on our workshops, I will corral 1 or 2 for you. You got to be careful not to have any open cuts or anything because it can make you feel pretty bad.
Yeah. Here's another awesome frog. I love this one. Is that a leaf behind that also? Did you do kind of the same thing? This is just gorgeous. The composition.
Yeah, that was a leaf behind him, and that's actually a glass frog. And they call him a glass frog because if you look, you can kind of see his internal organs through his belly there.
Yeah, I noticed that. He looks very,
Yeah, and again, it's a little tiny guy. He's, again, about the size of the first joint of your thumb, just a little teeny thing.
Oh, my gosh. So you're getting in like 3 times for this guy, too, then? You're getting in close?
No, this is probably about 1/2 life size.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
the frog is probably about life size if I did it full frame, but the framing I have here, it's probably about half life size.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh.
So
okay.
You guys who know, life size is basically talking about reproduction ratios. So the term life size goes back to film, and it just means that if you take something and it's reproduced on film the same size it is in real life, that's reproducing at life size. So like a nickel, if you take a full frame picture of a nickel, that's reproduced on your sensor or on film the same size it is in real life. So that's life size. And when you go smaller than that, it's 3x, it's 4x, it's 5x, things like that. So
Yes, that's great to let them know. Now this is really pretty too. It's the dew. You've got some really nice dew here. Oh, these are dragonflies. I just realized they were dragonflies.
Dang.
Oh my God, those are so. That is amazing.
Thank you.
Holy moly!
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
That was a neat morning. I don't these guys I think migrate. They're I think they're called autumn skimmers maybe. And I walked out into my meadow. I have one meadow near my house that I photograph all the time in. And I walked out there and these guys were everywhere. There must have been 150 of them in this 1 acre meadow. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was really a cool morning.
I see that you're also having a monarch workshop or something, and I saw that in your website. Which
Yep.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
we're
really
leaving Wednesday for the Angangeo Mountains down in Mexico. So there's I think a 500 million with a B monarchs, and they're all in 5 acres. So every tree, they just cover the land. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's something that I've always wanted to do. This is nice. I like this. A little abstract here. Is this a moth? It's really pretty.
That is the moth. That's a moth from Ecuador, and his defense strategy is when something touches him, he opens up his cover wings, and these two eye spots stare back at whatever bird or something's trying to eat it. And I don't know how well it works, but it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, it looks like it. Now we've had this on the show. I forget what the name of this spider is, but we've had a couple.
It's a crab spider.
Crab spider.
Type of a crab spider, right?
Wow, you've got it nice and sharp. Did you yeah, this is great. I mean, it's nice and sharp, so is the bee that it just took advantage of.
Yeah, that's the thing about macro photography is a lot, there's all different kinds of ways to do it. But what I like to do is I like to bring out the details, make sure everything's sharp that you want sharp. And, that's one of the challenges. And then, of course, you can do the minimal depth of field things where you're doing, just flower stamens and out of focus color and things like that. It's a lot of different ways to be creative with macro photography.
Right. And so when you're doing post-processing and stuff, are you just because it's raw, obviously, so you're bringing out some of the colors and sharpening and stuff like that. But that's basically, is that what you're saying that you do when it comes to post?
Absolutely. And I shoot raw, so we have to post-process. That's just part of the deal. My goal with post-processing is just to bring it back to what it looked like. So usually I'm, messing with highlights and shadows a little bit, hitting the saturation, fixing the color balance, and then of course sharpening.
Yeah. All right. Now, one of the things that I have to show this. This is amazing, guys. Look at this. This is night flying insects. I have never had anything like this on the show, so I'm super excited to share this with everyone. So tell me I'm just going to click around and you just tell me the techniques, like what. Okay, let's just show everybody this. So
okay.
This is your rig. Let's talk about this. This is great.
Okay, well, so this is what I use to photograph the night flying insects. And this is made by a company called Cognisis. They make the most fantastic toys. They make high-speed shutters and trigger devices and things like that. So this is something that I use to photograph insects at night. So basically what it is, on the left edge there are two sets of laser beams that cross and make an X. And that X is right in front of, you'll see the camera with the lens there. Yep. That X is right in front of the lens. So what I do is I put a light out here and the moths will fly around the light. And every once in a while, one will fly through both beams, right? So right through the center of the X, which trips both beams. When that trips the beams, that you see that black and white thing on the front of the lens, that's actually a high-speed shutter. And what happens, because you there's a delay between when your camera takes the picture, when the beam tells the camera to take a picture and when the shutter actually goes up. So this high-speed shutter opens instantaneously in 5 milliseconds.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so the camera's actually open on bulb with the shutter blocking the lens. When the beam gets broken, it trips up that shutter in 5 milliseconds. Then the flashes fire and make the exposure.
Look at this, you guys.
That's a little leaf
Just,
hopper.
oh, I am just like, wow, look at that. That is so cool. Now, what gave you the ideas of doing this? I mean, were you inspired by somebody? Or you just said, I just want to do this. I'm curious. I want to pick your brain on this one. This is so beautiful.
Well, it's, with the advent of digital photography, nature photography has gotten so darn competitive. There's just so many people making so much amazing work. So you got to try to do something different to stand out from the crowd. So that's, what kind of pushes me down these crazy rabbit holes, is just trying to show people something they haven't seen before. And that's one of the things that I love about macro photography. I mean, just even basic macro photography. There's not a lot of people doing it, and you can show people something that they haven't seen before. And that's getting harder and harder to do in this world.
Yeah, well, I think you've got it right on the nose with this for sure. Now, what other ones should we dive into real quick? Because we'll have to go into critique, but I mean, there's so much that, let me see. Oh, I love this fish. Okay, let me just share everybody. Okay, so here's his rig. And, I've been debating about getting this because this really helps you with focus stacking, correct?
Right.
This
yes.
right in here?
That's also made by Cognisys, and that's a thing called a stack shot. And if you want to go into Janice, if you can go into the focus stacking folder.
Sure, let's do that. Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that's tough about macro photography is we don't have a lot of depth of field. So back in the day, when we're doing, like, say we're working at 1x, right? So a full frame picture of a nickel, our depth of field at f22 is like 1 millimeter. So there's not a lot of depth of field, right? So that relegated us to just photographing flat plane subjects, right? So subjects like the wing scales of a butterfly, or that spider web, where it's real flat and it's real easy. So now with the advent of digital photography, we can do focus stacking, where we take a series of images at different focus points and then use a program to stack all those together to get us unlimited depth of field. So if you go to the shot of the dragonfly with the six images.
Let's see. There it is, right there. Okay. Oh, let me go back down. Sorry. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So for the particular image of that dragonfly, this is a stack of 6 different images. All right. And they're at different focus points. If you look at the image up on the upper left-hand corner, that's focused on the closest thing to me. You see the dewdrop on his foot?
Yes.
That's where the focus point is. And then if you go down to the one on the bottom right, you'll see that dewdrop is completely out of focus, but back of his head is coming into focus. So I take this series of 6 images and I use the Cognisys stack shot is an automatic rail which moves your camera for you and helps you make all these images. It makes it really super easy. You just put in the closest thing that you want sharp, and the back is the furthest thing that you want sharp, and tell it to make 6 images, and it does all the math for you. And then you bring all those images into, I use Zareen for my focus stacking, and then you get an image like this where everything's sharp.
Yeah, it's so pretty. And I see you, so you take it outdoors and do it outdoors also then.
I do, yeah. So that dragonfly was done outdoors. Yeah, I do a lot of this. I like to do things outdoors because you get the dew and, and the key to this is everybody's out there going, well, how the heck do you get the dragonfly to sit still while you're doing all this? Well, the beauty of it is early in the morning when it's below 55 or 60 degrees, the insects are actually in a state of torpor. So they can't really move until they warm up because they're cold-blooded. So you set all this stuff up, the insects are just sitting there waiting to warm up. You got a completely willing subject. So,
that's great. That's awesome.
That's Bug, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's
Looks like a
so.
space alien, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's just. Oh, I mean, I love seeing, and then the spider too. This is my favorite, the jumping spiders. I just think they're so cute.
Yeah, they are really
Oh,
cute.
this we haven't seen this too. This is beautiful. I've done this. Stack these kind of things. I love your background. It's so pretty. And then the mosquito, they're so small. I have to share this. Look at you guys. Look at how teeny. And you've got the reflection of the water. And I think you actually have. I think I saw. Wasn't there something in here where you showed here it is. Look at you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mosquitoes. Let me
So I actually raise these guys. So that's
Do you?
Yep. Well, I raised them to photograph them. So they actually hatch up out of there. Those little lily pad looking things, that's actually duckweed, a tiny little duckweed.
Oh, wow.
So I'll give you an idea of the scale there.
Mm-hmm.
But then the fully this is their pupa basically, and then they emerge from here and sit on the water till their wings dry, and then they fly off.
Wow. And then they're like, "Hi, Dad, it's time to eat." Let me see. I want to see where I think I saw a rig in here. Let me see. That's the fish. I thought I saw maybe it was on your website. You were sharing it. I don't know, but this is pretty cool.
Oh, the fish is the archer fish.
Oh, the archer fish too. Yeah, this is the art. I love the fish. So look at this. Let me just show them.
So this is the rig for the mosquitoes.
Okay, so that's what I saw. Okay, so I did see it. So that's the mosquito. Look at how cool that is, you guys. And then, but here's the fish. You guys got to see the fish. Is this your fish then?
This is actually my fish, and this is an archer fish, which is a fish from Asia. And I'm using 4 high-speed flashes, and the flashes are dialed down to 1/16th power. So that super fast durational flash, it goes at 11,000th of a second. So show them the final picture there, Janice.
Sure. Now there's this one that your fish got it, and then here's one that's going for it.
Just before, yeah. So this fish, it's really amazing. This fish, it eats terrestrial insects, and it spits a stream of water at its prey, knocks it off into the water, and then goes and eats it. It's really pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then look at you've got that shot with those flashes and the rig that you've set up for this. This is really, really cool.
Thanks.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. I was actually, I love to dive deep into what you guys are up to. Let me see something real. Okay, let's just look real fast at the snowflakes and then we'll go into critique. So here is your rig for the snowflakes. And you just tell me about this a little bit.
Okay, so this is, I was out in the winter one time up here in Michigan. You need to have something to do, and I saw a snowflake landed on my arm, and I looked at it and thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. So I decided I wanted to take a picture. So this is the rig I built to take photographs of the snowflakes.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So
I'll go back.
So basically, it's a microscope objective. Actually, the closer view is probably better at this point.
Oh, okay. It is. It is the microscope. I see it right in here.
The microscope objective on the bottom, and then that black long tube. That's all just extension tubes. That's all just basic clear tubes. Just get some space there. Then a 35 millimeter camera. So all this is outside. I catch the snowflake on a piece of black cloth. If I find a pretty one, I have a little paintbrush with just 2 hairs on it. I transfer the snowflake to the slide, which is outside, so it's cold. Bring it over, look at it, and then the lighting is fiber optic. So those silver arms coming in, those are fiber optic lights that will transmit light but not put any heat into it to melt the subject.
Oh,
and then
that's
there's 2 more lights coming up from beneath, and then the blue and the red filter you see underneath the microscope there. The blue one becomes the background, and the red one puts some highlights into the snowflake.
Oh my gosh, that's.
Do you have a picture of the snowflakes?
Yes, I do. Look at that. That's great.
Yeah.
So you got dimensions and the
little snowflakes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Really.
Yeah,
cool.
I bet you get so excited. I mean, when I see a snowflake, I get so excited to see it, but I've never photographed one. Now, did you stack any of these, or you just did you just shoot it?
This was done before focus stacking existed. Now, if I were to do this again today, that's what I would do. I would focus stack for sure because it's way easier. Because that was the tough thing about this. Because I'm shooting through a microscope objective, I don't really have an aperture. I don't have any. The depth of field is virtually nothing. So if it's not absolutely parallel to the camera, it's not going to be sharp all the way across. So today with focus stacking, that's absolutely what I would do.
Yeah, that's great. All right, AD, you can go back to us. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That is just, let me see do you guys have any questions? And I will get that going. Let's see. Everybody's just like, wow, very cool, incredible. Yes, see, now you know why I have him on the show, right? He's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And then what we're going to do is let me tell you guys, we will end up in critique time. But what I want to say is that if you guys want to submit images or ask questions, you can do that in our Facebook group, or you could go to sullivanjphotography.com. Macro Chat is here, and you can ask questions and submit images. And what this is really, I was telling Steve, it's not really a deep dive. It's just like little tips to help. And what I'll do is read the information. And did you end up getting the goodies from me, Steve, that I sent to you?
Yes,
okay, great. So let me get over. I thought they were great questions that we got. Whoops, from I ended up taking 3 images. Normally I'll just do 2, but we'll go through them pretty quick because we do want to go through your equipment and talk about your workshops and stuff like that. So AD, let's go to the critique time. Oh, I wasn't fast enough. Sorry, guys. Screwed it up. Let me go back. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Steve, is I'm going to read. So this is from Eugene. And he says, I'm having trouble to shoot pictures of critters in the wild. As per example, here is a mangrove tree crab. It moves so quickly. It is an almost black insect. After several shots, I decided to grab my flash. Is there a way to get a better picture of it? Here's my specs. Focal length 280, f8, 1/60th of a second. His ISO is 500. So he wants a little bit of tips on how you get those beautiful images with your flashes and all that stuff.
Well, I would say with something like this, maybe if he's shooting with a TTL flash like the R1C1, or I think the Canon's version they have a new one now, but it used to be the 24EX or something like that. These are their macro flash systems. Those are TTL. So I think he said he shot this at f8.
Mm-hmm.
So
f8 at 1/60th, yeah.
Right. So he could actually stop down to like f16, and the flash, if it's a TTL flash, would put out enough light to give him that double that depth of field anyway. So give him a little bit more depth of field.
Oh, so great.
One thing that he could do is pretty easily. Something else would be, I don't know if this guy ever stopped, but you could do this with natural light as well. Just, shoot a slower shutter speed. Like, people are amazed that I shoot 8 and 10 and 15-second exposures all the time. It's just a matter of being patient, wait till your subject stops for a minute and letting it go.
Right. So, try it without a flash if it's, just not working for them.
Yeah, but I think he said this guy was pretty quick. So flash is really your best option, because with flash, you got to remember, just like with that archer fish, the flash duration becomes your shutter speed. Right. So even though he's shooting this at 1/60th of a second that's his shutter speed, the flash fires at 1,000th of a second. So that will freeze any movement.
Right. And just snap it. So that's a great suggestion, though, to go up on your f-stop, Eugene, and then, play with that so you get more in focus. You know what I noticed, too, that, see the how he's getting a lot of reflections. Yeah. How would you work that out? I'm just curious.
That's the drawback to flash is you're putting a big bright white light source, and you're going to get highlights in it. And when you use like a ring flash, which is a circle that goes on the front of the lens, all those highlights become little white donuts, so the only way to do that, you could cross polarize, which is
Mhm.
pretty complicated. It basically takes two polarizers, one on the filter and one on your or one on the flash and one on the camera to get rid of those. But that's pretty complicated and costs you a lot of light. The only real way to do it is just clean them up in post processing.
That's a good tip. That's what I do when I'm using, if I see something like this, I'll just clean it up. But I was curious on what you do. So that's good. It's
Right.
very
And
good.
what I do, I don't want to spend a lot of time on images like this. So what I would do is I would actually, for this particular image, I would just pick the white channel on Adobe Camera Raw and just pull the whites down, and that will darken those highlights a lot because there's not a lot of other white in this image. And if he just pull it, and just all you gotta do is soften them down a little bit, and you'll be surprised how, and that's real quick and easy.
Oh, that's awesome. I did see here in the chat, somebody had said, oh, Bill says, wait, somebody says, Steve is one of my favorite Michigan photographers. How awesome. That's from Bill Higgins. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, they're chatting it up over there. So I just saw that real quick when I look around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that. Let me, okay, let's go into this next question. So let me get into this one. And I think this is another great question. So the next question is how to photograph an insect or snake behind a glass pane, or perhaps is there a better way to improve it at post-production time? So this was shot in, behind the glass.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a super tough thing because you spend all this money on a great lens and then you're basically photographing through a window pane, which is always tough. There's a beautiful yellow eyelash viper here, really a great subject. It's posed well. It's a nice picture, but it's a tough thing. In post processing, what I would probably try to do here is if you're using Adobe Camera Raw in either Lightroom or Bridge to do your post-processing, they have a new thing that they've just added called dehaze, which might pull some of this kind of foggy feeling out of this picture a little bit. The other thing you might want to try to do is if you're using flash, you put the flashes off at a big angle to your subject so you don't get the reflection from the flashes. Another thing people do is they'll make like a big cone that they can put up against the glass and then put their camera in the cone and shoot through, and that cone will block out all the ambient light from outside of the glass and help sharpen things up too.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea. I never even thought about that. That's a really cool idea. I love that cone idea because then you won't have all the light bouncing in there. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Because, that's the problem. It becomes the reflections.
Yeah.
The flash will overpower it, and the cone is actually super easy too.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so now we're going to go into TJ's, and he submitted this one, and he says that he loves the way the snake curled up and was sleeping, and his eye, was looking at him. So I was curious on if you could help him like with different compositions or, giving him an idea of photographing snakes and, what would you like do? Because you could see that the snake is with a lot of different colors around there. So, would you shoot this, or what is your thoughts on this, something like this?
I think this is a good subject. I think he handled it, very well. The lines of the image, the beautiful gradual S curves going through the frame, pull the eye all the way through the frame. That's really nice. I really like that a lot. For me, oftentimes, my style is kind of clean, simple, elegant images, right? So I'm trying to get rid of visual distractions. I want to get rid of anything that's going to pull the viewer's eye away from my main subject. So I would have maybe changed my angle a little bit to get rid of that line up in the left-hand corner and kind of some of those other things that pull the eye away from the subject. Clean and simple. Anything that doesn't add to your image is going to detract from the image. I want to control where the viewer's eye goes. I don't want anything to pull them away and have them look at it and go, oh, what's that? What's going on over there? Right. Yes. So you got beautiful lines here. It's really pretty. It's a great situation. And you could clean that up if you want to do, some Photoshop work, you could kind of clean some of that stuff up too.
Right. Yeah. Great tips. Very, very good. Yeah, because if I don't know anybody with snakes and I haven't gone out, and if I was going to go to a zoo, this would be like a situation for me too, where there would be some distractions. But sometimes they have them in dirt, which is really neat. And like I said, my cousin had a snake, so I'm not afraid of snakes at all. So here's the next one, and this is a good one too. He says, I'd like to get sharp. He goes, this is from Ron Farmer, and he said, I'd like to get, excuse me, sharper natural light images without having to bump up the ISO up so crazy of a number. So he'd like some tips on what he could do with that. So basically, natural light, he'd like to get sharper natural light images without having to bump the ISO up to some crazy number.
Right. So I don't know if it was Ron.
That was Ron Farmer, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if Ron's shooting from a tripod, but if you want to do natural light macro photography, you really have to use a tripod, or you have to kick the ISO up. I mean, there's no compromise there. You either have to shoot a fast enough shutter speed so you can hand hold, and when we're doing macro photography, we're shooting at f11, f16, f22 to get that depth of field. And you either shoot with a slow shutter speed and wait for your subject to sit still, or you have to bump the ISO up to hand hold. And then the other thing is to get as parallel as you can to your subject, right? So
yeah, that's a great tip too.
That's an important thing too. I think everything that's important in this image is sharp. His eyes, I'd like to see his nose just a little bit sharper, but I think this is handled very well. But yeah, I mean, it's a tripod is your friend when you're doing macro photography. I take very few pictures without a tripod, and the only time I do is when I'm using flash and I have that super fast flash duration to freeze the motion of my camera.
Right. Yeah. So that's what you got to do, Ron. You gotta either get up early or just take your time, get the tripod out, or put the flash on. But I really love the eyes. That's great.
Yeah, it's
to
amazing.
be able to see. Yeah.
And that's the important part of that picture, and they're sharp.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a compromise. We're limited by what we can do. We can only, there's only so much depth of field, and there's only so much you can do. And sometimes you're down at f22, and you just make the best picture you can make.
Right. Right. Another thing too, Ron, what you could do is just, I would just say, you were saying sharper natural images. Maybe you should try to play with stacking a little bit, like Steve does, to step you into the next zone of things, which is always fun because you get to see I love stacking. I stack everything because it's just kind of like, it puts it all together like a puzzle,
Right. So, the thing about focus stacking is it really kicks open some creative doors and allows us to make some images that were virtually impossible, that were without focus stacking. There's just no way you could physically get the depth of field you need. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you. That was awesome. We are done with the critique section. If you guys have any questions, I know we're 30 seconds to a minute delayed for some of you guys. So definitely ask, because we're going to go into equipment time. All right, Steve. So one of the things before you dive into sharing some of your equipment and stuff is that I really love on your website that you have a phototech area. So when we dive into his website after the equipment time, you guys, I'll share that with you. He has really some good information on his website that I think you guys will enjoy. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. I appreciate when people do that kind of stuff. It's always interesting for me to read, stuff like the equipment and information about a little bit behind the scenes stuff. So that is really neat to have on your site, besides some other fun stuff that we'll talk about. So share some of your fun. Do you have anything on you? What is your favorite?
I do have a couple new things that I've been playing with a lot. So I can you see me?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know.
Yep.
All right. So
Yep.
this is the stack shot. Um,
Oh,
and this is made by a company called Cognisys, Cognisys. They're a great company. They make really cool tools. They make most of the gear that I use for the night flying insects. They make infrared triggers. They make camera traps, all kinds of cool stuff. But this is really a great tool for macro photography. So basically what happens with this is this mounts on my tripod here. There's an Arca Swiss rail here that it mounts on. And then I mount my camera up on top of this. And this whole thing, I don't know if you can see that moving. It moves kind of
oh
slow,
yeah. Yep. Yep.
but that thing basically moves forward and backward. So what you do is you put your camera on here, you get your subject all set up. I move back to the farthest thing I want, the closest thing to the camera that I want sharp, and then I move forward
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
to the farthest thing I want, and I tell the camera I set that as the beginning and the end picture, the end points for the stack, and I tell the camera or tell this device, the controller here, how many pictures to take, and you push start, and it moves back to the beginnings part, and it takes it waits 2 seconds, which is super cool because that stops any vibration. So it moves back, it settles down for 2 seconds. There's a cord that goes to your camera, takes the first picture, moves forward exactly 1/6 if you're making 6 images, moves exactly forward 1/6, waits 2 seconds, takes a picture, moves forward 1/6, takes another picture. It does it automatically. You could do this manually, but it would just be an educated guess. This is super precise. It's not a lot of money. It's a few $100s, and it's a great tool. It works really well, and you can set it up surprisingly fast. Like that mosquito that I did where he was kind of facing us, that was 5 images focus stacked. And I never would have thought I could set things up fast enough to get that because it was a moving dynamic situation. But it's really quick and easy to do. And like I say, it really kicks open some amazing doors.
Yeah, that's great. What I'll do is I'll talk to you after the show, and we'll put the link down so people can buy that. That would be really great to have down below the show notes. Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, AD.
Here, AD's on it already. He's got the
He's
link
it.
in the chat,
Yep.
you guys.
So, and then the other thing, so I'm a Nikon guy. I've been shooting Nikon for 29 of my 30 years, basically. But Canon has a tool that is just amazing. And I have a 5D Mark something or other. I don't even know what these things are anymore. But I bought a Canon camera just to use this lens. And
That's a
this is the Canon 1x to 5x zoom lens. It's an amazing tool for macro photography, especially when you combine it with the stack shot. It's what most of my focus stack images are made with, is this lens right here. So 1x to 5x. So this lens will go from a full frame picture of a nickel, right? That's 1x, all the way out to 5x, which is a full frame face shot of a housefly. So super, super tiny in a zoom lens. It's
Wow.
crazy.
And you're happy with it, obviously, because you sound excited.
Yeah, I love this lens. It's about showing people something that everybody else can't show them, right? And kicking open those creative doors. So this with the focus stacking is amazing, and it's just, most of the focus stacked images I'm making are made with this lens. It's really a cool tool. So one of the things and I will tell you this. It's a tough lens to use. It is a challenge to use because there's not a lot of depth of field. So it's hard to find your subject. It's hard to get things set up. But once you do, it's amazing. And when you're working at high magnifications like this, people are surprised. There's no focus ring on this lens, right? This is just zooming. So the only way you focus when you're working at magnifications like that is by moving the camera closer or further away from your subject. So that's why something like a rail is really important to get this all lined up and get it focused right. So, but it's a really cool and fun tool, and I really love it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Do you use the focus stacker in the field? Yes,
I do. Yeah. People were surprised by that. But again, I'm going out, I'm photographing subjects that are in torpor. So they're nice and chilled, and they can't move until they warm up. So I have very good willing subjects, and go out on days when it's not windy, right? Because the wind is our enemy when we're out in the field working in macro. But you can also use it in the studio. Like a lot of guys are, and I haven't been doing this, but a lot of guys you can buy beetles, beautiful, amazing beetles from around the world, and photograph them.
Oh, really?
The first picture I ever made with this, just to test it out, was of a horsefly, and it was dead in the window, and I just picked it up and just did a face shot of it, and it's amazing. The compound eyes are just really cool, and he was a totally willing subject.
Yeah, I find we have beautiful green beetles, and I picked it up and brought it in. My grandson found it, and I wanted to shoot it like that, but I have the 100 millimeter with the 25, at extension tube, but I always want to get closer. So
Wow.
I've always debated, like, I know the 5, I know about that because I'm a Canon girl.
Okay.
And my main problem was, I know that it's so hard to focus with just my focusing rack, but now that you're sharing your little mechanism, I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun, because you're, like you say, I get excited too. And I'm sure most of you guys that are in here too love to see, it and open up, and you're like, wow, that we would not see this with our eyes. So beautiful. You know what, AD, is there anything else you want to share before we dive into your website?
Nope, we can share my website. I'm all for that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's go ahead and go to his website. So Steve's website is amazing. This is what I was saying, how I love. So this show is close-up macro and micro photography. That's what we talk about on this show. And so when I saw this, I was just like, wow, so beautiful. Now, is this in the field?
That's a yellow eyelash viper from Costa Rica. Yep. And someone had a black coat that we held up behind it to get that black background, because it's such a graphic subject. I wanted the black background to really have it to show off the graphic nature of the subject. So, but you could have done this with flash too. If you'd have lit this with flash, and if the background was far enough away that the light fell off, it would go black. But the background was closer, so we just held up a black coat.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Now, I do want to ask you, I will go in here, but this is what I was talking to you guys about, the Phototech. And look at this bat. So you do a lot of fast. I'd love to hear a little bit about your fast syncing stuff that you do. And I mean, this is just amazing to me. How
Thank
beautiful.
You. Yeah. So that's a pallet bat. And bats actually, many species of bats drink on the wing. They fly low over a pond, drop their lower jaw into the water, and scoop up water as they're going. So we set up a beam, basically like a laser beam. It's actually infrared, and when the bat flies through the beam, he breaks the beam, which fires the flashes. And again, the flashes are dialed down to 1/16th power. So the flashes fire at 11,000th of a second.
Wow.
And that super fast burst of light is what freezes the hummingbird wings and freezes the water drops and the bat. And
yeah,
so that's the key to it.
Yeah, this is awesome too. I just love how you get it. The action, the feeling of this whole moment right here that you've caught, or you've, worked on. This is great. I mean, now you do a lot of stuff. You are one busy person, just like Jackie, but I do have a question for on your workshops and your photo tours. What's the difference between a workshop and a photo tour?
That is a great question. And they are totally different experiences. So a photo tour is generally, it's going to be a more epic adventure. It's usually for more experienced photographers who want to go to a particular place and have an experience. And our job Nicole and I's job during a photo tour is to make sure you're in the best location to get the best pictures available at that location. So in Africa, when we first started going to Africa, we went to 6 or 8 different lodges and went around and decided which 3 or 4 were the best ones to take people to. And then we built a photo tour around the best lodges to make sure everybody's there. And then our job is to take care of everything, to make sure that you're there and able to make the pictures and not have to worry about accommodations or travel or food or anything like that. Everything's all set up. You show up, we pick you at the airport, we sweep you off to a fantastic destination, and it's just total immersion in the location and the experience. It's really a lot of fun. And a workshop is similar to that, but it's got much more of a learning component. I mean, certainly during a photo tour, there's going to be a lot of teaching and you're going to learn a lot of different techniques, but a workshop is all about learning. In fact, Nicole and I very rarely even shoot during workshops because we're just there to help people see and solve photographic problems. And their workshops are typically in the US or Canada somewhere. And it's really a hands-on, total immersive. It's usually a smaller group because we want to be there to be able to help and instruct people. It's usually a 3 or 4 day experience. We do things in the Smokies, out west, up north. We got a new workshop that we just announced just actually yesterday, flight school out at Bosque del Apache to do the birds in flight. So they're both really great experiences, and Nicole and I really have fun teaching people and taking people all over the world, showing them these amazing things.
Yeah, and you guys do. I saw some of the pictures that that you guys some of the travels that you've done. It looks like a fun group. People are really into it. I love your bird images too. You have some really beautiful bird shots that look at how cute. I mean, there's so many of them.
Thank you.
Just look at that. Oh my gosh. Beautiful. You could see the front of the beak and the feathers. Just so pretty. You also, which I don't know where it's at, maybe it's in your workshops. I noticed that you guys have something at your home. You do macro at your home. Where was that at?
We do. We actually Nicole and I were lucky enough to find a house that backs up to 6,000 acres of state land. So we're going to do we're opening actually something called the Nature Photography Institute, and it's here in Michigan. So anybody from the Midwest, it'll serve. We have people flying from all over, but we have bird blinds set up. We're going to take people out in the field to do macro photography. We have this amazing meadow. It's about a 20-acre meadow. It's surrounded by hardwood that just filled with insects and things to photograph. So we go out and we take people out, small groups, 8 people, and we teach them the way that we do macro out in the field. And it's really fun experience.
Well, that's great. I have seen things where where the people have done this before, where they have their own areas and then they set it up for animals so you can go in and shoot. They hide so you can be hidden and all that stuff. And so this is great because it's more of a macro. I love this. I have never seen something like this for a macro photographer. So thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Oh my gosh, that's just amazing. Here, look at that birdie. So yeah, I thought that was so neat, and that stood out to my eyes where, you have your own, you're doing it in your own space. That's just really, really fun. So is there anything that you're doing that you would like? Are you exploring new ways to photograph? What are you up to now? I know you're super busy like Jackie. I was just
right. Well, yeah, we travel a lot, so that keeps us pretty busy. We do 7 or 8 big tours and probably 7 or 8 workshops every year, so that keeps us pretty busy. We're building the Nature Photography Institute, which is our next big passion, and we're going to teach focus stacking and high-speed flash and macro and bird photography and all the things that we love out of there. So that's really fun and exciting. And photographically, I've just started exploring trying to photograph insects in flight, daylight flying insects, which is very challenging. So that's the next thing that I'm working on now.
Oh, that's exciting. I'm going to stay tuned and watch your website and see what you pull up and share it with everybody. So I just have to say thank you so much for sharing all of your information. And I have to say that website you guys got to check out. All his workshops, his photo tours. So, and then the photo tech information. So they could just go ahead and contact you, or I mean, you could just push on the button. And one of the things that I think that's nice is when you push on the workshops, you share. I've seen some where you get, I think it was a photo tours where you guys were all hanging out. You show a little bit behind the scenes of what you do.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was a lot of fun too. So you guys got to
Yeah, thanks.
definitely check. Yeah, no problem. All right, you guys. Well, this is always the saddest part because I always have such a blast with all of you guys, and I appreciate you, Steve, for hanging out with and chatting with the macro photographers. There's, they're out there chalky. This has been terrific. Thank you, Steve. Janice and AD, that's from Catherine. Jackie Kramer, beautiful bat and hummingbird. So, they appreciate you as much as I appreciate you. It's just awesome.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share my work with folks.
Oh, that's no problem at all. Okay, you guys, so I'll be back in 2 weeks on the 14th. So if you like this show, give it a thumbs up and share with macro photographers out there. And of course, check out Steve's stuff because you'll have a blast playing with macro and close up and those birds. You got to check out the birds, you guys. Pretty much that's it. We'll be here in 2 more weeks talking about macro, close up, and micro photography. Remember, you guys, that 1,000 words does make a difference. Have a good evening, day, night, wherever you're at. Cheers.
Thank you.